Team members' needs and reactions. So in this one, we're going to look at individual behavioural preferences, the qualities, how they can provide insights into how an individual may react in the face of change, and some of the things that we may be able to do to help and support them during change. Looking down the list, you can see that several of you are already very familiar with the Jigsaw Discovery framework. But for those of you who are not, the Jigsaw Discovery behavioural profile and framework is actually, it looks at, we have 4 behavioural preferences. Our red style, we actually have character names ever ready, we call them, is all about achievement, success, direct, blunt speaking, focus driven, competitive, strategic thinkers. Our yellow style, ray of sunshine, is all about enjoyment, novelty, great ideas, great starters, great creative thinkers, enthusiastic problem solvers. Our green, carey, is all about caring, protecting, helping, supporting other people, team players, great listeners, considerate, always put people before task, compassionate and empathetic. And our last behavioural preference is our blue, Mr. Huey Blue, we affectionately call him, who maintains order and correctness. It's all about routines, structures, does things by the book, the right way. There's a right way or a wrong way, no midway. It's all about detail, systematic processing, and a little bit risk averse. So that's a very quick overview of those 4 behavioural preferences that we are all a mix of. All 4. So the Jigsaw behavioural framework is based upon 3 axes: introversion, extroversion, thinking, feeling, sensing and intuition. I just want to look at these different axes in turn. During change, an individual's preference on the introvert extrovert axes will influence how they want to receive and process information. So both introverts and extroverts want information, but they want it in different forms. So an introvert, they like written information before a meeting so that they've got time to prepare, to read it through, to digest it, to think it through. They don't like being put on the spot, so they like to be prepared. They like that time to reflect and think things through. They like to be asked what they think and have their concerns and ideas heard. And we need to remember that introverts need to think to speak and think to act. Think first is the way of the introvert. Extroverts, they much prefer verbal, in-person communication. They talk to think. So the first thing an extrovert says is not necessarily the best idea, the best thing they're going to say. We need to encourage them to talk and keep talking, because their ideas, as they're talking, they're thinking through and expanding and building on, developing their ideas. They need to be involved. They need to be kept close to the energy for the project. They like to have the attention of other people so that they can voice and share their ideas and opinions with other people. And they are doers. They prefer to do rather than think. They like to get on with it and keep that enthusiasm for the project alive and keep the project moving. So that's our introversion and extroversion. Next, we look at the combination of the thinking, feeling, sensing, intuition axes and how that influences an individual's needs. Thinking and feeling axes influences the criteria upon which the individual rejects or supports the change. And it also is about how they're going to focus during the change, where their focus will be. Sensing, intuition influences the type of information individuals need and the likely questions that they're going to want answering. So let's just look at each one in turn. An intuitive thinker then. This is equates to what we call the red, the ever ready. So the key needs of a person with this intuitive thinking preference, they need to know the why. They want the logic, the thinking behind the change, clear goals and outcomes. They want managers and the change leaders to be able to demonstrate their competency by getting that change completed. They want to see it moving. They want the big detail, the overall plan and direction. They want to be able to add their own ideas and their own ways of doing things in there. They want to get involved, perhaps delegate a part of the project to them, get them involved that way, give them the kind of authority and some autonomy, responsibility to get on with it, because completion and achievement is very important to them. If we look at our intuitive feeling preference, our yellow, ray of sunshine, they need the biggest possible picture, painted big and bold. They need that vision. They need the consideration, to know that consideration is being given to the way the changes will affect people. They want about the possibilities and the opportunities that are going to open up. They need an opportunity again to share their ideas and build upon the vision. They need to be involved, kept close to the change. They need recognition for their ideas, and they want it to be a pleasant experience. Moving on to our sensing feeling. So this is our, in jigsaw terms, our green caries. Their key needs. They like to know what is wrong with the current way that we are doing things. What's wrong with the way people are doing things? Why is this change needed in terms of the people? They want to know about the who, the what, the when and the where from the or through the lens of people. They want information on how it's going to affect people, their colleagues, their customers, and how the change leader plans to meet people's needs. They need clear guidelines and expectations about roles and responsibilities. They need to feel valued and appreciated, and they need reassurance during the change. The blue, our Mr. Huey Blue, sensing thinking. They need realistic information about the change and the future, the pros and the cons. They need to know why the change is necessary. What is wrong with the way, the process, the how of that they're doing it now. They want clear timelines, guidelines. They want the specifics of the what, when, how, why, and who. They want to know the benefits and the drawback, the pros and the cons, the logic behind the change. They want a realistic plan for implementation of the change. And they expect that managers, the change leaders, can demonstrate their competency and be knowledgeable about the change. So that's how our behavioural preferences can influence the things that we need in change. So they inform about how we want to be informed, the kind of information we want, and the criteria that we are actually going to make the decision of whether or not we're going to be support or resist the change, how we want to be involved, how we want change plans to be structured.